Hey, everybody. Welcome aboard the Blue Heart webcast. And also, we may use this particular episode also for Hope is Not a Tactic, the school safety and security show. So, I'm Lieutenant Joe, and I'm here in the studio, as you can see. And one of the things that has come into my life as a focus in the last couple of months was the need for very good insurance. Okay. Now, when do we need insurance? We need insurance at a hard time, at a rough time, at a problem time. A friend of mine just had their kid have a car accident, and it was a nice car, a classic car, really cool. But unfortunately, just the way the kid hit this other car, they had to total the vehicle. And there's a big gap in their insurance, and they're going to end up losing a lot of money on it. Thank God nobody was hurt. But the policy they had was really inadequate, and they simply bought it because that's what the salesman sold them. So what I wanted to do is bring you some insurance information that's going to help you and your family, your life, whatever you're doing, so that you are covered properly and that you can be comfortable with your insurance. So I'm going to bring in a young man with me here. This is my friend Dominic Melondyke. Dominic, how are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Joe? Appreciate you having me on.
Good. Absolutely. So one of the things we're going to talk about here is I have some questions and things that I want to bring out to the guys and girls from the police departments and schools and all that stuff. But I'm going to pop up information here. So if that looks correct, that's how people can get in touch with Dominic while we're talking. And I'll pop it up and down a couple of times while we're talking here. So Dominic, tell us a little bit about you and how you came to be involved in insurance. And is selling the right word, or is that the right way to put it? Selling insurance?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because this was definitely, as most people find themselves in their own professions, not what they necessarily had planned, but what they fell into. I grew up military brat, so Air Force, both my parents. I was born overseas. That means, I was moving every 1 to 2 years. With my dad being deployed, for over a whole year at a time. It was different. It was definitely different than a lot of my peers growing up. But it definitely instilled, a great appreciation for those that served, here, and abroad. But, I eventually decided on, going to school at Seton Hall. I was studying finance, and I was a financial analyst at Colgate-Palmolive, the toothbrush company. I kind of realized, just not something that I wanted to do. I did a lot of sales internships when I was in university. And I really enjoyed talking to people. Now, whether that be just who I am or something that I learned having to, move every 1 to 2 years and, make new friends, it's something that I cared about and something that I had a genuine interest in. And I knew, though, if I wanted to do sales, I didn't want to sell a product. I'd rather sell myself. Insurance is just that. It's not the most interesting, but you need it and it's important. And I knew once I heard that, I'd give it a shot. And after I got my MBA at Seton Hall, I said, screw it. Let's give this a try. I think it's really going to fit how I want to live my life. And sure enough, here I am. And I wouldn't even say really selling. It's more so trying to just save people money and spread education on what they really have. That's the biggest thing, the biggest eye opener that I've had, now that I've been doing this, almost 2 years, is that nobody knows what they're actually covered for. And I don't blame them. I didn't know what I was covered for, especially as somebody that's now a new homeowner myself, and, getting into that, I realized how pushed aside they make the home insurance in that totem pole. They just kind of make it a box to check off when they're going to buy a home. And I feel like I've done a pretty good job so far on educating people on what they have and getting what they need.
Well, that's excellent. And it's funny how we end up where we end up. Many of the people out here that are law enforcement, some people, they strove their whole life. That's what they want to be. And other people kind of fell into it. And next thing you know, it's really an awesome thing to do. So I can appreciate your travel. Now, I asked Dominic for some information, right, so that I can help bring the right stuff to you. And here's a quote that he put on here. I don't expect people to care about insurance. I expect myself to care about their insurance so they don't have to. My job is to make sure you're protected, you're not overpaying, and nothing surprises you when you actually need the policy. I think that's awesome because, like you said, as a new homeowner, you have to have this policy on your house. Most mortgage companies, demand it, but you don't know what you're covered for. And the money, the amount can be a ridiculous amount of money, or you can find something that really works for you. But it's when you have a claim, something happens and they come back to you and say, oh yeah, well, we're not covered under that. You're not getting a payment out of us for that. So it's important to know your agent and to trust them. That's the key. With anything that you're going to buy, you have to be able to trust, because we all know salesmen will sell you everything, and their job is to make money selling you things. To have an agent that's really good is important. When I was young and I first got married and had kids and I'm taking on this police job, I had a life insurance agent. I went to him and I had needed life insurance. I had a wife and kids now. And the first person I went to just roped me into all of these, whole life this and invest in that. And turns out it was a huge policy cost for not the greatest of coverage. And then I met another guy through a friend, through one of the cops, who went over it for me and said, dude, you got to get away. This is not going to help you. What your family needs is a big amount of cash when you go so that you can do the right thing. And I found the right guy that I trusted and has me set up to this very day, and it turns out it's necessary. So I appreciate that. All right. So let's see. One of the things on here that we're going to talk about, first responder discounts, bundling, and making sure you're not overpaying. What is that all about? To the cops out there, the school teachers that are listening to us, what is important about that? Obviously, the discount part we're all going to jump on. But what's the bundling? What's that mean?
So that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. And back to that sales point, a lot of these people, they work for these large carriers. I'm a broker, so I'm different from these carriers. I don't work for any one carrier. I have 70 plus carriers in the states of New Jersey, PA, and Delaware. I shop them and I do the shopping for you. For all of them, I run them through every single one, and I make sure that you're getting the best cost to coverage ratio possible. And not all carriers offer it, but I know the carriers that do. They offer these discounts for first responders. That I'm talking policemen, firemen, teachers, especially. I love it when it's the summertime and people are going back to school. Kids are always moving, and I always let people know, look, if this is, if you're a public servant of any kind, there's a lot of carriers that show respect for that, and they give out discounts. On top of, not only am I going for those discounts, I'm going for every discount possible. So when people come to me, I'd love to look at the home, but I want to show every single option that they have. So if you have an auto policy, which most people do, or maybe they have an umbrella or they have rental properties, the more they can give me, the more options I can show them, because the more that you have together, the more that you're going to be able to save. And I'm not talking 50, 60 bucks. I'm talking hundreds of dollars that you're going to be able to get off on the same exact policies. You keeping them separate doesn't really do much. You put that together, now you're talking, I have people, and on the average, I'm saving people about $400 to $500. And if people have multiple rental properties, it goes up into the thousands. I just had somebody yesterday that came with me with 8. Sure enough, fireman, had been working his entire life, and he was just really getting into real estate, and he's been doing it for 10, 15 years. And he just had his agent just writing him policies. Sure enough, didn't have the right coverages. I mean, he had a $400,000 home and had $600,000 worth of personal property on there. And it wasn't even a home that he lived in. He didn't have any property in there, and yet he's getting charged for all this other stuff. People don't realize that the coverages are tailored specifically to you. It's your policy. Don't let the agent dictate what you need and what you don't need. Right. I'm here to guide you, and that's the biggest thing. I want you to know what you're covered for, and you're going to be able to tell me what you need, and I'm going to kind of help walk you through exactly what we have to offer and what is of interest to you.
And that's what's important, because you don't know what you have. And like I said, you'll put in a claim and they'll say, oh, well, you're not actually covered for that. And that can be devastating, right? So as a matter of fact, since I met you, I have a bundle policy. I have my cars, my house, and an umbrella policy. And since I've been talking to you, I'm saying, I went through this and I listed everything that I wanted covered, but I don't read all that gobbledygook. I don't understand it. I go through it and I think I'm covered. My agent tells me I'm covered. So I'm going to forward it to you and have you look through it and tell me where I really am covered. And just so everybody knows, when I first had this conversation with Dominic and we were going back and forth, and he said, I think I can probably do something for you and this and that. I told him who I had, and he said, actually, you have a pretty good policy. I would stick with that. Now, what salesman tells you that? Don't buy for me. They tell you, you're okay. So this is where trust comes in. And that's the only reason I would bring him on here, is because I trust what he said to me. The fact that he told me, no, I don't need to sell you anything. You're good. But I'm going to have you look at it anyway, because, I know you can look things closer than I can. So that's important. Bundling, especially as a cop. if something happens out in the world and they come after you and your house or whatever, they're going to sue you. Having that extra bundle of insurance is very helpful. Okay, so the next thing here that I asked you about, finding the gaps people don't know they have. What kind of gaps can you have in insurance? Now, I know if I lease a car, and they say, oh, you have the car, if you wreck it, what we pay off with what you get in free insurance might not be the full payment of the car. You need that gap insurance to cover that.
Loan lease payoff. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
Yeah, so that's one of many. The biggest ones I find are some of the smallest and the least expensive ones you can find on a policy, and people don't include them on there because, again, these big carriers, they're just going through 1 million people a day. They're not commission based. As somebody that's fully commission based, I don't make my living if I don't keep on my clients that I bring on. There's no reason for me to upsell anything, because if you can go find a price cheaper, I would never be able to hold on to a book of value that I have today. The biggest ones, though, that I like bringing up, they're super important. It's water backup in the home. Most policies do not cover any type of water backup. Think about, if you got kids, I know a lot of people do, as they get older, the kid will flush something down the toilet. If that clogs the drain and that starts backing up into your home policy, unless it has that specific endorsement that they manually added on, would not be covered. Another one, service lines. Anything you would think, oh, my electrical line, from the street in, or the water line from the street in, would be covered by the city. It's their piping, it's their work, it's PSC&Gs, it's their wiring. No, if it is on your land, you're responsible for it. They don't care if a tree fell into your yard and ruined the entire line. No, and that wasn't quote unquote your fault. It is still going to fall under your responsibility. And that's a $40 add-on to your policy across the year, not per month, across the year. I mean, it's seriously
Right.
dollars a month. And guess what? These big carriers, I see it every time. They never put it on there. And then when I get a call, I'll be like, hey, I just filed the claim. Like, are you going to make sure this is covered? And so many people come to me, oh, I had a big water claim that didn't get covered. How do I know this carrier is going to cover it? And most of the time, it's not the carrier's fault. It's the agent that wrote it because they didn't look out for them. And that's what
Right.
it is.
So I like that. So the whole idea, and this is something I think we don't always think about, is managing your insurance. You're right. It's a checkoff box. You get the mortgage. You have to have homeowners insurance. Send us the document that you have. It has to meet their criteria. You talk to an agent. You write them a check. Now you got homeowners insurance. Is it the right homeowners insurance? I had an incident here. We had built our driveway and a walkway and whatnot, and I had a what do they call the water well to take the draining water, and it wasn't built correctly. And that water backed up into my basement, and all of a sudden I'm looking, and the sheetrock looks. I'm gonna put my finger right through it. The whole wall was soaking wet. The rug was soaked because the water backed up. And I called my insurance, and I was concerned about making a claim, and they were pretty good about it. They're like, yeah, that's covered, in your policy. Thank goodness I had a good policy. They sent the guy out right away, took a look at it, gave me an estimate, and I got it repaired. But, thank God, how much that would have cost me if I didn't have the right insurance. So having somebody paying attention to that is absolutely important. So keep that in mind out there, everybody in the listening world. You want someone that's on your side managing this, not just selling you something, right? There's an ad on radio right now. They're talking about insurance, and it's like the only time you see your broker or your agent is at renewal time when they're coming to you get another check. You need somebody managing this in the background to make sure that you're okay and what's going on. So that's great. All right. And number 3, having somebody actually manage your insurance. One of the biggest benefits of working with an independent broker is that relationship. So how do you deal with the people that end up getting insurance through you? What's that relationship going to look like? Is it going to be once a year I talk to you, or
so it depends. It depends on the policy and what's needed, right? I think the biggest thing is that instead of having to call somebody and go through 30-minute wait time, people have my number. When they're talking to me, they got my real number. They're texting me. I mean, I am on my phone from honestly 8 to 9 in the morning to 8 or 9 at night. I'm always available. I was even on last night with this guy that was trying to close on our property. He needed a builder's risk, came to me, and it was at 11 at night. And sure enough, I was on. He was like, hey, I hate to bother you so late. And I don't mind doing that. I work from home. I have the hours to do so. And I know how important it is to get people things done. But relationship wise, I would say having me as a point of contact, the biggest thing, and I wanted to hit on this, and I'm glad you brought it up, is claims. right? Everybody's worried about getting their claims filled. But the biggest thing is when they actually need to file a claim. We talk about, you have your premium on one hand, but your premium always comes with the deductible. You're going to be paying stuff out of pocket first. I always tell people, please give me a text or call right away. I'm not going to tell you whether you should put a claim in or not. I'm just going to tell you what the outcomes are so you can make that decision yourself. Because if you have $1,000 deductible and you want to go get $1,500 worth of work done on your car that you scraped up against the fire hydrant, guess what? You're only going to be getting $500 because you have that $1,000 deductible. And now your policy is probably going to go up more than $500 every 6 months. And you've just paid off what you could have saved by paying it out of pocket tenfold, over the next 5 years that claim is going to be on your record.
That's a great thought, because you're trying to, what do I put a claim in on? Because you put a claim in and somehow or other, your insurance company goes, oh, you put in a claim. It's kind of funny. You get insurance so that when something happens, you're covered. But then they turn around and go, hey, you use that insurance. We have to raise the rates now.
Yeah.
What's the purpose of me having insurance?
I know. They make it a game. You got to be strategic on what you're doing. And the other thing is, and it ties in hand with that. And that's why I tell another reason to call me. If you said, all right, well, I'll just call the carrier and ask them, they would know, right? The second you call in and you're asking a question, say you go, hey, ring, 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 say I put you with Progressive, and it's just a random carrier. And this is not to, put down Progressive or anything like that. This is every single carrier. They do this across the board. Hey, I just backed up into a fire hydrant. I'm not sure if I should make a claim. What would that kind of look like for me? Is that smart? Boom, just right then and there, you now have a claim on your account. Doesn't matter if you actually go through with it. It's called a ghost claim or a $0 claim. You guys can look it up. It's horrible that they do this. And again, not something that I control. It's just all carriers do. They consider it a higher risk. The second you call in asking if you should file a claim for something, you immediately let them know that you do some stuff that might be a little bit more risky on their appetite, and you will automatically see an increase on your insurance come the renewal. It doesn't even matter if you put in a claim. It's horrible. I discovered that within the first month of getting into this business, and I tell everybody that because it saves people so much money. I've had people that have had 3 or 4 of these ghost claims on their policy, and it causes them to have, raises that are $1,000 to $2,000 across the year. And it's easy. When people that come with me, I know how to get rid of them. You can call in LexisNexis and these big things, the big, insurance, rating companies like Clue that handle the comprehensive losses, and you can get them removed. It's a little bit of a process, but nobody knows about that. I have nobody that I talk to is aware of that, and I don't blame them. I never was, but it's horrible that they do that. And if you could call me beforehand, that saves so much time and energy, and not only time and energy, your money. The money that you work so hard for, don't be throwing away because you're just you're being cautious and you get penalized for it. It's horrible.
Right. You want to have somebody on the inside that you can trust to give you some advice, right? Hey, listen, I just had, I had this water thing, and I looked at it, and I called my agent, and they're like, listen, if it's more than, how much is it, a couple $1,000s? I said, well, I've had 3 people look at it, and it's like $6,000 worth of damage. I said, that's worth putting in the claim. But like you said, I had $800, $1,000 deductible. If it was only $1,200 worth of work, I'd be getting $200 from the insurance company, and they would put a check mark on me, and maybe they cancel you after a year because you made a claim. How dare you make a claim on your insurance when you buy insurance, right? Yeah. So I think this is important. So for everybody out there, I got Dominic's name, his number, the email is here, and think about what you're doing. Okay. Think about what you're doing and what you need. And sometimes it's just nice to have somebody you can reach out to. And I know this young man for a little while now, and I trust him implicitly to do the right thing by you. So whether you're a teacher, fireman, law enforcement officer, figure out what your insurance coverage is. You don't want to find out at that last minute that, oh yeah, that's nice, but that's not covered. We're really sorry. We can't help you. And then you have somebody you can reach out to and talk to and say, should I make this claim? And somebody like Dominic, or Dominic specifically, can look into your policy and go, yeah, this is worthwhile or not. And, that's having somebody on the inside. And we all like to have somebody on the inside, don't we? That's what this is about. So Dominic, I appreciate you coming on. I think this is excellent information, and I certainly endorse everybody reaching out to you. Just have your policy checked, right? What's it take? A couple of minutes to go over it? And
yeah, seriously, people email me. Yeah, people email me their deck page, a front picture of their license. They're not going through an hour-long phone call with me. I make it real easy. If I have questions, I reach out. Other than that, I get something same day. And I let people know, like you said, if I can't beat your policy on price and coverage, I have no problem letting you know that you got what you need. I really just care that you have what you need. That is the biggest goal.
Right.
Nobody knows that. And I try to make it as painless as possible. I meet people where they want to be met, whether that's phone call, email, text. I do every single possible way to get in connection with these people. So, if you guys reach out, I'd love to take a look. Even if it's just a chat, even if you guys just have a question, I'd be happy to help out. You guys see my contact information down below. And Joe, really do appreciate you having me onto the webcast. This has been awesome.
Yep, and I do appreciate it because I bring training, I bring experience to law enforcement and to the school people how to keep everybody safe and do the right thing. But this is part of life that's important, and we're out there risking our lives every day, or we're serving our community in some way, and it's nice to have somebody on your side when it comes to this other stuff. So Dominic, thank you very much, and we'll be in touch. I'm going to send my stuff over. I want you to look at it again anyway. It's been almost a year, so I'll send that over. All right, everybody, this is Lieutenant Joe for the Blue Heart Webcast and for Hope is Not a Tactic. Think about what you're doing and what insurance you and your family needs are, and reach out to Dominic specifically, because I told you, you can trust this guy. He'll be honest with you. All right, everybody, be safe out there, and remember, be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem.